It's me.
Marquis D.
It's a new day here on the channel, and with a new day brings a new war. Our war. You're all involved in this war as much as me, and I want you all to call these lazy content-stealing channels out for what they are. I want you to boycott the lack of originality. I want you to yell at them in the comments section. This is not good enough and we deserve better. And I'm not saying no offence, because I don't care if they get offended. They need to do better. So anyway, speaking of wars, today this is my first pay-per-view review, and it's Destination X 2010 from the Monday Night War period of TNA. Check out my new Instagram for channel updates and chances to vote on upcoming videos. All of the info will be in the link below. If you click it, you will know. This pay-per-view takes place in the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida, in front of the usual massive crowd. This is part of the TNA v WWE Monday Night War series, so if you haven't seen that, make sure you start from the beginning and check the link on the screen right now. This is taking place smack bang in the middle of the Monday Night Wars. TNA is going head to head with Raw at this point, so the battle for ratings on TV is the main priority. TNA has been featuring a lot of older WCW talents in recent weeks. We've seen the likes of Flair, Bischoff, Hogan, the Nasty Boys, the Wolfpack. WWE is on the build up to WrestleMania, and after a couple of touchy first scrapes and bruises with TNA, they're now clearly on top in this war, and they're destroying TNA in the ratings. Before we start, I'd also like to point out that Team 3D were heavily involved in a multiple month feud with the Nasty Boys, and last week on Impact they put them through a table. However, no match is happening here tonight. I'm not sure if this is due to the incident with the Nasty Boys and the Spike TV executives, but anyway, they were fired a week after this pay-per-view event, so it was a complete waste of time how much build up to the match there was on TV when there was no match. I, for one, am thankful I don't have to sit through a Nasty Boys match in TNA ever again. Let's take a quick look at the promotional poster. I swear half of these people aren't even on the show. In fact, Creed was let go a week after this show, and we all know what he went on to do. Lethal, Suicide, Koji, Homicide. And wait, who's that in the top left next to Creed? Who is that? Is this TNA trying to convince people that the X Division was back and this is an X Division pure show? Only 3 of the matches on the show could be considered X Division. Anyway, enough moaning. Let's judge the show on the entertainment value alone. The opening package is all about it's time for change and it's TNA's time to shine. The first match is a #1 contenders ladder match for the X Division title. Brian Kendrick comes out first. This is during his short spell with TNA, and he's taken on the Amazing Red, Daniels and Kazarian. It's weird seeing Daniels before he eventually found his personality. Amazing Red takes a beautiful dive to the outside early on. I'm not sure how many rotations he got in there, but Jesus. Kendrick and Kazarian then get a bit botchy here and there. Red slips under the ladder and drop kicks it into Daniel's face. Everyone's trying to eliminate Amazing Red, but he just keeps on fighting back. Kendrick then looks like he botches again. Red does another amazing dive as Daniels attacks with the ladder. This guy is actually like watching a video game. I'm not sure how this guy didn't make it into WWE. You could have at least put him under a mask or something, because everything he does looks amazing. Daniels does a nice split-legged moonsault onto the ladder, but he can't hold the advantage for long as Amazing Red comes back with a beautiful Hurricane Rana to the outside. The crowd is chanting "This is awesome" and they're really into the match. Kendrick then starts messing around with the ladder again and keeps it simple this time and doesn't botch it and takes out Red and Kazarian. Kazarian then takes out Daniels with a nice slingshot leg drop onto the ladder. Red then takes out Kazarian and the crowd chant "That's amazing," but then he gets turned inside out with a Daniels clothesline. Kendrick with another dodgy throw off the top of the ladder. He's not having a good night here. The crowd don't really seem to mind Kendrick, but he's certainly bringing down the standard of the match for me. Then he hits the sliced bread, but then Daniels hits him with the Death Valley driver. Daniels does a beautiful Uranagi off the top of the ladder onto Amazing Red. I always think that move looks like the rock bottom. That looked like it hurt. Kaz springs to the top of the ladder springboard style. It's not quite as good as AJ Styles in the past, but it's still quite impressive. Then there's a dangerous suplex at the top of the ladder, and that was scary to watch. Kaz then knocks Kendrick off the ladder and wins the match. I'm going to give this a 3.5 stars out of 5. An amazing opener, and it just made me think what could have been for Amazing Red. The whole match is built around him. Kaz will go on to challenge for the X Division title, and we'll find out later on if that's going to be against Shannon Moore or Douglas Williams. Flair's then pushed out to the ring by Chelsea, who is Desmond Wolfe's manager, and he threatens Hulk Hogan and the Abyss, as he calls him. He brings up that Abyss chokeslammed him through the entrance ramp last week on Impact, and then he starts threatening a kid in the crowd, saying "Ask your mother about me." A pointless promo, but it's always fun to see Ric Flair. Backstage, Hulk Hogan is hyping up Abyss and telling him to use the power of the ring to win the match tonight. It's completely stupid. Bischoff then walks up. He had his head shaved by Foley last week. Hogan and Abyss share a laugh about it, and Hogan says that Bischoff now has a Hulk Hogan haircut. It's nice to see Hulk Hogan making fun of himself for a change. TNA Knockouts title match up next. Tara versus Daphne. This one had a rubbish build-up, so I'm not expecting too much from the match. The whole build-up is basically that Daphne is crazy. I remember a lot of people saying how hot Daphne was back in the day, Let me know in the comments section down below. Do you think Daphne's hot, or do you think she's not? Tara's still pretty mobile at this point in her career. It's not been that long since she joined TNA from WWE. Daphne's the clear heel here, and I'm surprised how much offense she actually gets in on Tara. She really impressed me in this match. Daphne puts her in a strange submission, and Taz with the cringy commentary call of the night. He said he saw a movie like this once. Tara eventually fights back with an enziguri and a spinebuster for the 2, but then Daphne fights back with a Northern Light suplex for the 2. Tara then slams her for another close 2. This is getting completely back and forth. Daphne then starts fighting Tara on the outside and drives her into the guardrail, and then she pointlessly goes for the belt shot, misses, and Tara hits the Widow's Peak for the 3. I was really digging this match, but then the ending happened. Daphne had no reason to try and cheat to win the match. She was completely in control. There were some nice moves in the match, and Daphne surprised me. Then Daphne steals Tara's pet tarantula poison, which causes Tara to chase her to the back. I guess this feud is going on for a bit longer now. I have a bad feeling about this spider and where this is heading. I'm going to give this match 2.5 stars. It could have been 3 if the ending was a bit stronger. Backstage, future NWA World Champion Brutus Magnus, aka Nick Aldis, is being interviewed by Christy Hemme. He calls her stupid, and he reminds her that from now on he's only going to be known as Magnus. He then threatens Rob Terry, who is the global champion. Magnus says he brought Rob Terry into the company to fetch him coffee. I don't know where this match has come from, to be honest. They weren't feuding on the last few episodes of Impact. The last time I saw the idiot Rob Terry was with Orlando Jordan. For those of you who don't know, Rob Terry is a Welsh bodybuilder who was pushed for years but could never get over. Check out my video on the screen right now on the global title if you want to hear more about it. Rob Terry just spends most of this match posing and quickly takes Magnus out of a spin kick and a spinebuster in 1 minute. Completely dumb and pointless match. Why was this even on pay-per-view? Whilst Terry would go on to achieve absolutely nothing in his career, apart from maybe the worst haircut I've ever seen, Magnus would go on to be a TNA World Champion and end up having an entire company built around him with the NWA. Who would have thought that would happen? Next up is the Ultimate X match. This is one of TNA's special attraction matches which you can only catch on the TNA show. The winner of the match is the person who can edge across the cables and grab the X. Christy Hemme interviews the Machine Guns first, and they will be taking on Generation Me, aka the Young Bucks, in this match. Sabin calls them a couple of children and says they aren't ready to fight at this level. Sabin also insinuates that Gen Me are homosexuals. Shelly calls them Hardy Boy rip-offs. The crazy thing is the Guns were extremely over, but they still hadn't been tag team champions at this point in their careers. It really is shocking how little they won the belts, considering how important to TNA they were in the long run. Gen Me come out first. I'm not really a fan of these guys, but this could be a fun match to watch. The Guns come out looking badass as normal. The commentary team point out that this is the 20th ever Ultimate X match, and Shelly's been involved in 13 of these matches, and Sabin was in the first ever Ultimate X match, so there is a huge advantage to the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm not going to try and describe the action too much, as I wouldn't know what to call half of the moves, but believe me, this is pretty crazy. Max and Jeremy were so crazy in the match that Taz admitted he was lost for words. I wish that could happen more often. The crowd was firmly behind the Guns at the start of the match, but Max and Jeremy impressed them and win them over. Max and Jeremy keep getting close to grabbing the X, but the Guns keep catching them just in time. All 4 wrestlers get up to the cables, and if this shot looks familiar, it's because it was used for the DVD cover. More beautiful tandem moves from the Bucks. For the second time in the night, Taz says it feels like a video game. Then there's a small botch by the Guns, but this is pretty impressive considering how much organisation has to go into an Ultimate X match. They should have botched more in reality. The crowd are completely into this match and have been great so far for this pay-per-view. Sabin and Jeremy start fighting at the top of the cables, and then Sabin boots him off to grab the X and get the win. This was different to most Ultimate X matches because of the athleticism was done away from the cables and diving to the outside of the ring. Usually the cables are involved in all the spots. Not a bad Ultimate X match, could have done with a few more minutes in my opinion, but a pretty good match overall. I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars, as the match didn't tell that much of a story and could have done with a little bit extra time. These two teams would go on to have some more great matches, and most people remember the empty arena match. Catch that if you can. Gen Me would leave TNA shortly after this, and they'd go on to have pretty good careers away from TNA and the WWE. Obviously Gen Me would become the Young Bucks and join Cody for AEW, and now they're making their own wrestling history. And now the next match is going to feel like we're hitting slow motion. Hall and Waltman are taking on Eric Young and Nash. If Hall and Waltman win the match, they'll be awarded TNA contracts. So where do we begin with this one? Well, the feud's actually been going on for a while now. Hall and Waltman have been hanging around TNA backstage, but no one seems to be able to get rid of them. They've been feuding with Young and Nash. Hall cuts a promo when he's busting out his old Wolfpack attire. He switches up his line this week and says he'll be the one in the ring that looks like a movie star, instead of Elvis, which he's been saying every week. This interview's all over the place, it's crazy, everyone's talking over each other. There's no music for the band as they walk out, but they're not under contract, so that's understandable. Taz says Scott Hall looks like Elvis. Wow, they're really trying to make this line work and it never did. Thank you everyone for pointing out this is a reference to the Kings of Wrestling in old school TNA. Taz then starts making fun of Scott Hall's physique. He can hardly talk, the fat orange baked bean lookalike. Hall then cuts another in-ring promo and he does it old school. He surveys the crowd. One more for the bad guys, and Nash and Young come out. This is a weird time in Eric Young's career. He's not a comedy character anymore. He just had a short run as the leader of the World Elite faction. Young and Waltman start the match out with some decent wrestling. Hall seems to be in a good mood tonight and he's playing around. He hits the fall away slam on Eric Young. Six-Pack and Young then botching a little bit as the match starts to go airborne, and these two are going to carry much of the wrestling in the match. It's noticeable that Nash still hasn't been tagged in at this point. Then there's a double down and Young finally tags Nash in, but the ref doesn't see it. Six-Pack then tries to find something and sprays paint in Eric Young's face. This is a throwback to Impact a few weeks ago. Young then manages to fight back and tags Kevin in. Pac then calls a timeout, and to nobody's surprise he turns around and jackknifes Eric Young into the canvas to allow Six-Pack to hit the X Factor and Hall to hit the Razor's Edge and cover him for the free. It was a decent match while it lasted actually. It was a lot better than I remember it being when I was a teenager. However, a blind man with turds in his eyes could have seen the turn coming. I didn't actually hate this match. There was some decent wrestling and nice nostalgia thrown in. I'm giving it 2.5 stars just because Hall is so entertaining to me. The crowd chants same old. The band now have contracts and they'd stick around TNA for a few more months, even winning the TNA tag belts from sole champion Matt Morgan. Young would eventually join the band in a turn that made zero sense given the history. Eventually Hall and Pac would be fired. Backstage, Angle burns a picture of Mr. Anderson to scare him for their match later on. Next up, it's the third X Division match of the night as Doug Williams defended his title against Shannon Moore. Shannon debuted recently and was just handed a title shot for no reason, probably because he's an ex-WWE guy. Williams has been an X Division champion for 2 months at this point after beating Amazing Red for the belt. Doug Williams has always had an amazing ground-brawling British style, which is very different to the normal high-flying of the X Division, but it just seems to mesh up so well with their style. Williams manages to stay on top of Moore for a long period in this match before Shannon catches him with a moonsault and then a dive to the outside. Then suddenly out of nowhere, Doug Williams grabs a brick from under the ring and nails Shannon Moore in the head for the win. Williams then runs down Moore and says he never deserved a title shot in the first place, and the crowd cheered. Williams sounds like a pantomime villain once again. He's so entertaining. He runs down the entire X Division. He then snatches a lady's purse from the ringside and he draws lipstick over Shannon Moore's face. I'm pretty sure Shannon Moore wears lipstick anyway, Doug. That isn't gonna make him angry. Williams would go on to have a great run with the X Division belt and he'd keep the title till late 2010 with Bound for Glory, apart from a short spell where he stripped of the title due to interference by a volcano. Anyway, probably the weakest X Division match of the night. I give it 2 stars. So I questioned it on the last episode. What's going on with the tag titles here? Well, it turns out it's Beer Money versus the champions Morgan and Hernandez. I had trouble working this out on the last episode as nothing was explained. There's no heat to this match and pretty much the only storyline is that Morgan is a Beer Money have been doing the job on TV for months now and they're barely even on the show. They're desperate to find some success. Morgan and Hernandez are partners that don't get on. This match is awful. Morgan keeps stopping his partner from doing things as Morgan wants to have all the glory. Beer Money beat down Hernandez for a while whilst Morgan threatens him on the outside. Morgan then decides to tag in and takes out Beer Money on his own while the crowd chant "You still suck." He then tags in Hernandez who hits a beautiful dive. Morgan starts manhandling Hernandez as they start arguing more and more. Hernandez then actually takes out Storm on his own and manages to get him for the free. I hated this match so much. Beer Money couldn't even beat 2 wrestlers who were fighting each other at the same time. I give this match 1 star. Morgan then takes out Hernandez after the match. This would lead to a storyline where Morgan is the sole tag team champion. He would take Hernandez out and would eventually lose the titles to the band after Hernandez returns and distracts him. Next up, there's a video package for the Angle-Anderson match. They're having an intense blood feud. Anderson has been running down soldiers and attacking Kurt with a dog tag. Last week, Anderson carved Angle up in a brutal way. This one's going to be a good one, folks. Kurt Angle's playing mind games with Anderson early on. He's completely dominating Anderson. I'm loving the intensity here. Anderson is the clear heel and the crowd are chanting for Kurt to break his ankle. Anderson then starts working on Kurt's arm and he gets a close 2 after hitting Kurt's shoulder into the post. I'm loving this aggressive version of Mr. Anderson. Kurt eventually manages to make a 1-arm comeback, but then he's shut down quite quickly when Anderson hits the Green Bay plunge. He goes for the mic check, but Kurt manages to traverse it into an Angle slam for the 2 count. The ref almost gets taken out, but then Anderson hits the mic check on Kurt for the 2. It was at this moment I realised there'd been 0 ref bumps on the show all night. That's strange for TNA. Angle then hits the frog splash and goes for a second Angle slam, but Anderson reverses it. And then, ref bump. Yep, I knew it. Anderson tries to cover, but the ref is out. Then there's a priceless look on Anderson's face as he realises the ref is out and he can cheat. Anderson wants to fetch a chair, but the fat man in the front won't give it to him. Taz says that the chair might be bent. Yeah, yours might be bent too, Taz. Anderson then grabs the dog tag from the corner, but he's unable to connect. Kurt then scrapes Anderson with the medal to open him up. Angle then locks him in the ankle lock, and Anderson taps out just as the ref wakes up. A good match, probably the best match of the night so far. I'm going to give this 4 stars. These two would go on to have a much better match, probably my favourite match of all time at Lockdown in a cage. But this was a great personal rivalry. Anderson then gets back on the mic and says Angle cheated in the match when Anderson was trying to have a nice clean straight up match. A great promo, better than most wrestlers cut nowadays, and he just fought a long intense match. I love this crazy version of Anderson. Kurt has won the battle for now, but he's not won the war. And finally, it's the main event time. The world champion AJ Styles is defending the belt against the idiot Abyss. AJ's heel here and he's managed by Ric Flair. Abyss has recently been given Hulk Hogan's Hall of Fame ring and it's giving him superpowers. Flair has also got violent against Abyss and Hogan. As I mentioned earlier, Abyss recently chokeslammed Flair through the entrance ramp. Heel AJ cuts a promo backstage trying to sound tough, but he sounds more comical than anything. This match is just stupid and it won't be as good as the times these two have clashed in the past. The idiot then cuts a promo from backstage and says he has the power of Hulk Hogan and all the Hulkamaniacs running through his body. He says what you're gonna do when Abyssomania and Hulkamania runs wild and crazy on you. Abyss is the face here, but I'd be surprised if a single person wanted him to win this match. Abyss is basically Hulk Hogan at this point. He even has the music. As the wrestlers come out, I'm not sure why Hulk Hogan isn't out with Abyss. He's been just as involved in this feud as Ric Flair has. Flair comes out in his wheelchair, again pushed by Chelsea. Abyss is dominating early on the start of the match and he's wearing his McDonald's outfit. Abyss does hit a beautiful overhead belly to belly. Damn, AJ flew through the sky. AJ then hits some nice high flying moves and follows them up with some heel tactics. I don't think the crowd could ever really truly hate AJ when he pulls off lovely moves like that. Abyss gets a shock treatment backbreaker and then AJ replies with a spiral tap. Wow, I have not seen that move in forever. But AJ only scores a 2. He argues with the ref, which then allows Abyss to get in with the black hole slam. AJ surprisingly kicks out of this at 2. Flair then gets involved with the referee, which allows AJ to deck Abyss with the belt. The crowd chant Hogan and then Hogan's music hits and here comes the Hulkster with referee Earl Hebner. Hulk Hogan grabs Ric Flair's wheelchair and wheels him away and out of the impact zone. AJ then hits the springboard 450, but Abyss kicks out again and then he hulks up. What else can AJ do to beat Abyss? Then Abyss hits the choke slam on AJ and whoa, he goes through the ring. That's the power of the ring, brother. Earl Hebner calls for the belt immediately and Hogan awards Abyss the belt. Earl takes it away from him, and then Flair is wheeled back out to the ring by Chelsea. Flair gets dragged into the ring and maced. Desmond Wolfe then runs out to the ring. He's been friendly with Flair recently. As you can tell, he had his manager on loan with him. Hogan then starts beating up Desmond Wolfe and humiliates him more than ever. And then Wolfe goes into the hole with AJ, and then he's quickly followed by Flair. The crowd are really happy, but it's pretty dumb really. Why bring your own ref out to the match if he's not going to make a good call for you? Why does the match have to end just because he went through the ring mat? There have been some good old school AJ moves here, and at least Hogan only appeared at the end of the match. But there were some strange decisions, and I don't understand why the match had to end this way. Hogan didn't want Abyss to take the 3. I'm going to give this match 3.5 stars. So that's Destination X 2010, a good pay-per-view. I give it 4 stars overall because most of the matches were good. I'm not sure what effect, if any, this will have on the Monday Night Wars. All of the champions retain their belts here. However, TNA has often demonstrated it only really cares about the TV product, and any changes are most likely to happen on TV. So now we've got this out of the way, I can return to doing the Monday Night War videos. There is of course the little question of whether I should review WrestleMania or not. Let me know in the comments section down below if you want me to bother with that. I can just skip it if you want me to. This was my first time reviewing a pay-per-view, I hope it was okay. I'm also thinking of doing a Patreon. I'm really not sure if I want to go ahead with this or not. Let me know what you think down below. I was thinking of people being able to choose what videos they wanted in the future, but you know I would put my full effort into it unlike a certain other channel. Anyway, don't forget, war is on. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to join the war because this is the start of the battle. I look forward to seeing you soon, my friends.